welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. In this edition, we track down Pat Simmons somewhere in a shopping mall near the MTS Center in Winnipeg. Currently number 5 on the Asham World Curling Tour Order of Merit, 2005 and 2006 Saskatchewan Brier rep, talking to us from Winnipeg during the BDO Classic Canadian Open. Pat Simmons, welcome to The Curling Show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you beat Wayne Middaugh last night in your opener, even though you had yet another new lineup, with Steve Laycock missing this event to play in the World University Games. Add this to Ben Hebert leaving in the offseason and Chris Heikert heading to the Northwest Territories to fight fires, and I'm starting to wonder if you and Jeff Sharp aren't getting a complex.
Well, we're getting used to it, put it that way. It's not such a big deal anymore not having our team. It seems to be a rarity these days, but no, Dean's going to fit in real well. We knew he would. He's a good player, so hopefully we won't skip a beat here.
You guys are going to have to start, you're going to go to slams and wonder if they have a spare list when you get there, right?
Well, it's come in handy before, put it that way.
Hey, Jerry Adam was your coach, and he's been a very good player for many years, but he doesn't fit the mold of a second, really, in today's game, and I don't mean to speak disparagingly, it's just he's older, let's be honest. I think you get some experience at that position and some level-headed thinking. But you might lose a bit of athleticism. Is this sort of a one-year substitution, or do you think it's a long-term thing?
You know what? Good question. We haven't talked beyond getting through this year, and that's something that we'll certainly sit down with him and discuss. And I mean, it depends on a lot of factors, obviously, which we haven't even begun to explore, both based on him and based on lots of things. Chris, potentially. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. So, no, really right now we're just focused on the big events left this year, and then we'll discuss further at a later point.
You talked of, you have Dean Hick this week from Joel Jordison's team sparing for you. You're 1-3 against that rink this year. Is that a problem?
Well, I hope not. They certainly had our number early on. For various reasons, but yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, you have little phases like that against certain teams, and obviously we're hoping that things go a little better. We're expecting to play them once or twice or whatever in provincials here, and we're hoping that we can even that record out a little bit more. So that's for sure.
It is good to see another team. They seem to be doing well on the tour this year, and it's good to see another team sort of emerge from Saskatchewan. It seems like it's been a little dry in terms of new teams coming out of there lately.
It is good, especially for a younger team too, kind of like ourselves. I think it excel. It's going to make us better. I think it's good to have a couple teams kind of pushing each other, and it looks like there may be something in that way long-standing for us and for them as well. And so I think that really does nothing but probably make both teams better in the long run. You look at Alberta and Martin and Furby for years and so on. And I think that will ultimately make both teams better for sure.
Hey, let's talk about the news from Winnipeg for a moment. Brad Gushu, in a story by Kirk Peaton in the Winnipeg Sun, said about 8N games, "I absolutely hate it." He went on to call it probably the worst move ever you could make for curling, which seems to me a bit of a stretch, a bit of an overstatement, probably the worst move ever. But what do you think about 8N games?
8N games for the slams, I don't mind whatsoever, just because the ice conditions we play on are so good right away. I kind of was hesitant to really like it until we started playing them, and really, other than it being a little short, it didn't for us change too much. We get right at it right away on this ice, and now beyond the slams, I don't think it would be a good idea. I would be against it other than the slams, just because of the fact that a lot of times on club ice, you just don't have the conditions early on in the game. It takes an end or two just to kind of break it in, so to speak. For play downs, I don't think it would be a good idea. But I think the one thing where they can maybe get away with it is these Grand Slams, and I don't have a problem with that.
What if Mark Shurik was making the ice at a Brier?
Well, I mean, I guess it would be the same thing here, but I don't think you can just have that at a Brier when you have a bunch of other games leading up to the Brier. I think in playdowns, it's probably got to be one way and one way only. I don't think it's not good to start kind of splitting it up different ways, partway through playdowns.
Through competitions, that makes sense.
I think it's got to be one or the other, and I mean, it would be fine otherwise, but, I think for the Slams for right now, like I say, I don't have a problem. The ice is so good and everything's so good here that, the two ends that you'd waste, maybe blow off in a normal club game, you just don't here, plain and simple. And 8 ends, still can be plenty when you're playing 8 really good, solid, fun ends with lots of rocks in play, so.
I'm one of those guys who waffles between being a traditionalist and trying to move the game forward, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have different formats too. I mean, great golf courses are all different, and it takes a different kind of player. So some players might be better with 10 ends and 8. That's fine.
Well, I think too. I mean, we tend to kind of think what might be best for us, but I think we really, the most important thing is what is going to be the best for viewership and fans and TV deals. I mean that. Let's face it, that's what drives our sport, and without that, we have absolutely nothing. There would be no Brier. None of these competitions would exist. So, unfortunately, sometimes, and fortunately, other times, changes are made based on that, and obviously, a perfect example is the changing of the rule, which has been great. Everyone kind of doubted that at the start, or lots of people did, and look at how good it's turned out. So, I think it's pretty early to maybe say negativities about the 8 ends, but I, in my opinion, I think it's only for certain places, and like I say, the Slam, I think, is one place you can get away with that.
How are the time clocks, where they're just timing the thinking rather than the shooting, working out?
I think okay. It's interesting. It's a little deceiving. You look up the clock and you've got 3 ends left in 10 minutes, and you're kind of panicking for a minute, and then you realize, wow, that's not too bad, or whatever. So, I think it's a good idea, really. I mean, it's not going to penalize the team that maybe gets down a little bit early and has to play a lot more draw game.
And how much time? How much time do you have?
I think it's 37 or 38 minutes, something like that. I didn't even really look. It's around about there, or take a minute. So, and you still get a couple timeouts, and it seemed pretty comfortable. We were down to about 2 minutes or something our first game there, and it was kind of it wasn't our fastest paced game for us ever, but it's probably close to where they need it. I mean, you can't dilly-dally too much, but you shouldn't be able to either. So
yeah, it seems to be a change to me that was long overdue, so I'm glad to see it happen.
It seems to make sense. It just seems like a common sense type thing. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I mean, it should in theory work out fine.
Hey, you haven't moved into the men's room at this mall, have you? All of a sudden you got a big echo.
No, same place.
All right. Hey, let's talk about last year's Regina Brier. The disappointment of starting 0-4 and then finishing with losses to the Territories in BC. It was kind of a wild week for you guys. What happened?
It was. I just myself started out really slow. I had 2 games there, notably off the start. The first 2 games we played that I just didn't play up to snuff there. Not good enough to beat the teams we were playing, and then unfortunately the next 2 games I didn't think we played that bad. It was just unfortunately we played Glenn Howard and Kevin Martin, and you can play great and not beat those teams. So it was a combination of things. I mean, I got off to a bit of a slow start, and our schedule in that respect didn't help us one bit, and and then it's an uphill battle from there.
Hey, talking about the Regina Brier last year, it was a bit of a disappointment, I think, from attendance-wise and a few other things, despite, I'm sure, what were the best efforts of volunteers and everything else. And then there's talk of moving the provincial finals in Saskatchewan out of arenas and back into curling problems. There seem to be a few stories of struggling clubs. As a kid who grew up in southern Ontario, Saskatchewan was one of those icon provinces for curling. Is there a curling problem in Saskatchewan, or is it a Saskatchewan problem right now?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I think Saskatchewan's got the same trend that a lot of other places do, to be quite honest. I don't think it's much different from many other places. The curling is changing, and in Saskatchewan, it's no exception.
And you haven't had a big population boom there, like in Alberta.
Well, and that's half the problem too. I mean, just off my team alone, and I guess that's a good example. But that's happening on lots of other teams too that you just don't hear about, right? I mean, there's curlers that are leaving constantly, and that doesn't help either. And it might be just a person here, a person there, but that usually means a team here and a team there that you lose as well, because and unless you're gung-ho, you're not sometimes it's not easily replacing these people. So,
and then on a macro level, a club's losing members.
Well, sure it is then, Then they lose 2 teams when 2 or 3 people leave, and it just is a trickle-down effect. There's that. There's also obviously a larger gap between the real competitive teams and the club curlers, if you want to call them that, and you're seeing that in kind of things like play-down numbers and entries. I don't know if it's such an oddity otherwise in Saskatchewan, though. I've just seen a lot of this happen in a lot of different places, and it's a sign of the times. I mean, there's more to do. People are busier in the winter. It's one of those things. I've always said you can't. We've always had the debate of how do we change our system to get more entries and to do this and to get a better team in Saskatchewan and yada yada. And I think the bottom line is, and it can be said about what we're talking about too, you can't force people to do what you want them to do. You can't force dedication and commitment on people. It's just something that has to be there.
Well, the point you make about play-down entries being down, and that's what seems to be a problem everywhere, Canada and the U.S., but I don't see that. I think you've made a good point. The elite teams are that much better right now, so you don't have guys who are good club curlers or very good club curlers who used to go on playdowns. Now they realize that if they can't put in the time, they really don't have a chance. So that, to me, is not really a cause for concern. I think what provinces should be doing, and countries like this one, is you have to make sure that there's other things for them to play in, whether it's
right.
A playdown where it's with people with under 10 years of experience or whatever else.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to keep people playing. I mean, curling's a lot more than just the highest competition level that kind of we're at. It's obviously driven more by the next level or the next 2 levels, and those people and other fans watching as well. And that you're right. That's probably even more important.
All right, Pat. Well, we end with the run back. I give you a topic. You give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words. Sharing a name with a Doobie brother.
Oh, just honored.
Kyle George's hair.
We used to call him the murderer, and that was the main reason why.
With the ball cap and the hair.
The hair without the ball cap, especially.
Really? The Saskatchewan provincial final format.
Huge plus. Great change.
Tommy Douglas.
Oh. Actually, I've met a couple people with the exact same name, so interesting, actually. I had a couple patients with the same name that I've treated in the past, and kind of wondered if there was a connection to way back when.
Okay. And no longer being the oldest player on your team.
Oh, relief.
Relief, yes. Yes, you don't stand out so much anymore, I guess, do you?
Oh, it's a huge relief. I can be young, do stupid things here now. So
there you go. All right, Pat. I'm trying to give every team a chance to mention their sponsors, so let me have yours.
Okay, we'll give you ours here. Brigade, Fugro, Colony Coffee, Regina Toyota dealership, Supreme Auto. Let's see.
Curl TV.
Curl TV. Thank you very much.
Gosh, it's a good thing.
Sheridan Construction from Lloydminster, Supreme Office Basics. I think that's just about all. If I'm forgetting one, I apologize, but that'd be the main ones for sure.
Well, I do patronize Curl TV, so there you go. I have a Curl TV subscription. So.
Curl TV's been great, actually, so you betcha. We're proud to have them on board.
All right, Pat. Well, thanks for your time. Good luck tonight and the rest of the way in the BDO Classic Canadian Open.
Good deal. Good talking to you.
That's Pat Simmons on The Curling Show. Before I go, a quick editorial. This week, curling actually had a major Toronto newspaper, The Star, sending a reporter to cover the Ontario Scotties Tournament of Hearts in Mississauga. Unfortunately, the Ontario Curling Association felt compelled to make one of their competition rules the lead story. Team Krista Scharf, no less than the province's defending champ, was forced by the OCA to cover 3 of the sponsor crests on their jackets, as Ontario's governing curling body decreed that the team's 7 sponsor logos exceeded the 4 that the organization allows. There is so much wrong with this decision. First, does the OCA really believe that curling will project a more professional image when the reigning provincial champions take to the ice with duct tape on the backs of their uniforms? Second, who made the arbitrary decision that 4 was the number of sponsor logos that could be displayed? Why not 5 or 3 or 6? What's the defense of 4? And finally, what was OCA Executive Director Doug Bates thinking when he defended the decision by saying, "This isn't NASCAR. Maybe someday, but not yet"? Now, I'm not a fan of NASCAR, but I'm sure curling could probably learn a few things from a sport that has enjoyed unprecedented growth over the last 15 years. Fact is, this decision is another sad example of bureaucracy trumping common sense in the curling world. I thought we were getting past this sort of thing. With that, I have an idea for a team seeking sponsors in Ontario next year. The 100 for 100 Club. Get 100 sponsors for $100 each and fill your jackets with 100 tiny sponsor crests. Then make it to the provincial final and watch the OCA try to cover 96% of your jackets with duct tape. I'll end by following the lead of Brian McAndrew of the Star and list the Thunder Bay sponsors whose crests Team Scharf had to keep from the prying eyes of the spectators at the Dixie Curling Club. They are Scharf Mechanical. Yes, that's Krista's dad. Shane McCormick Chiropractic. That's the boyfriend of second Tiffany Stubbings. And Makinga Construction. They're all part of Team Scharf's elite duct tape group. Thanks for listening, and no matter what happens with our beautiful game, I remain a rockaholic.